It's alive!
How do we know she is alive?
I hate when people talk during the movie.
No wire hangers ever! You are tearing me apart, Lisa!
Your stupid minds! Stupid! Stupid!
Relax. It's all in bad taste.
You've got Cat's List in front of you. Cast Lits, in case you need to refer back to them.
One more time.
List.
Cast Lits.
Cat list.
Lits.
I'm saying lists. Lists. Cast lists.
Cats.
It's not an easy word, let's be honest.
Cats
Like, regardless
lists.
of whether or not we're watching a movie about cats, it's still a hard word to say. I always have trouble with that word. Hello, fellow Jellicles, and welcome to the Bad Taste Buds podcast, where we talk trash about the very best of bad cinema. I'm your host, Rumple Teaser, and today I'm joined by the magical Mr. Mistopheles.
Is that me?
It could be. It could if you want it to be.
Okay.
Do you want it to be you?
I don't know. I've not seen it. I don't know. Is that... Fuck knows.
And joining him, we have Jenny Anydots over there.
Hello.
She knew
I'm
that was
assuming
her.
that's me.
It's a female cat, so yeah, you get to be the token female of the group. And last but not least, we have...
I am the psychiatrist I have hired to cure Liam's obsession of cats.
Thank you very much. I need it. I was that first of all unlistenable to like accent, whatever the fuck that was.
You are very welcome.
You tried like Sigmund Freud or something.
This is my psychologist voice.
It sounds slightly Russian,
Dracula.
slightly German.
It sounds like a race.
Slightly
yeah.
Transylvanian.
Slightly Dracula. Yeah.
Mysterious.
It's
It's
whatever you
just
say.
sloping more towards Dracula, yeah.
I mean, I've made it no secret that I've been obsessed with this film since it came out last year. So this is like a whole year in the making. I've been excited to get you guys to watch
It's
it.
problematic.
It's slightly problematic. It's taken over my life a little bit for a whole fucking year. It's just such a baffling case of what the fuck happened here. It's unheard of, really, in modern cinema. How it's just a domino effect of everything going wrong at the same time to culminate in one of the weirdest and one of the most traumatic filmatic experiences you can have.
I was under the impression that the ethos of this podcast was good bad movies, but everything I've heard about this one is it's just shit. So I'm furious that you're making me watch it.
You know, get
One
on
of
with
the
the rest
biggest
of it.
sort of taglines was that it would haunt viewers for generations, so...
So that's it. It's going to haunt Jack for generations. He's not even seen it yet. And he's already freaking out.
Well, no, we rented it. Me and Hannah paid £3 something on Amazon for it.
He's
and
still
we
fuming.
literally watched 3-4 minutes of it and just went, no,
He's
fuck
like
this.
emailing Bezos the next day for his refund. Like, I really demand.
I don't know. I didn't even try, actually. I should have.
Just gave up all your, yeah.
I've given them money for that, haven't I? They've made a profit off that. Fuck.
To be fair, yeah, they're already under budget. You've given a little bit more to the. What was the right? So no, the actual like I'm all over
You're
the
not
place.
doing well today.
I'm all over the place because I'm kind of like both really excited and really nervous to watch this again. Like we just got off the heels of watching the 1981 version, me and Ryan, the other week.
Which I would say that was a bad movie, not a best worst movie. That
So
was
is it just like
I don't
a
think it's a bad
Broadway show that's been filmed, or is it a film?
Yeah, it's like Hamilton style. Like they just put the cameras on the stage. They didn't have an audience. I think Hamilton at least had an audience, but it was like here's the show. We're just going to film it, and it's
a lot better than This Boat Still Bored.
It's not for me. I think the main problem with Cats is it's just not for me. It has a massive fan base. It has a rabid fan base.
I'm not a big musical person. Is it a well-received musical?
Yeah, it's one of the fourth longest running musicals.
It's Lloyd Webber as
End.
well. Like it's not
Everything was though.
everything was Lloyd Webber.
Yeah. Pretty much.
Was Phantom, Joseph and the Technical Dreamcoat, Evita, and Cats are the big Webbers, and Cats is lauded as one of the more out there.
They're all pretty divisive,
They're all pretty out
aren't they?
there. It's based off T.S. Eliot. It's based off basically a book of children's poems, which leads to the disjointed narrative, we'll say.
I feel like I would enjoy the book of poems.
I would enjoy.
Apparently, they sort of related it to a bit of like a Dr. Seuss type
They're
style.
quite cute. They're not. I've
He
read
did
a
it for
few.
his grandchildren,
I've read a
so
few.
I
They're not
imagine they're
bad.
quite light-hearted, really, and just a bit of fun.
But I mean, we all have cats here. So how are we feeling about never looking at them again? How are we feeling about that?
I just need to shut Molly away for a night.
Well, we have 3, and I don't know for a fact. I know for a fact I'm not going to be able to go home and stroke them for a few days. Like we saw this. Me and Ryan saw this opening weekend in theatre. There was a crowd of maybe about 10 people lining up to go see Cats. So right before the lockdown, as it happens, it was like one of the last films we saw before lockdown. Which I'm not saying it's to blame for what happened this year, but we had a really interesting experience in the theatre. I've told the story about a million times to my friends before, but like we were visited by the spirit of fucking Gus the theatre cat as we went in
the old man.
Yeah, it was fucking weird. Do you want to tell the guys?
Started watching Cats, and then we were about 20 minutes into the movie before this old man randomly rocks up, comes into the cinema screen, and stands by us in the row of seats.
Stands, like
stands,
not
doesn't sit.
sit.
Not once, Stands in the door of the balcony the entire
next to
time.
me, like, and this guy, I don't want to make any assumptions, but he smells kind of funky. He's got this big overcoat on, like, we assume like maybe it's filled with cats. I don't know. Maybe he is. You know, those like when there's like
Were you worried he was rubbing one out?
We
Is that
get-
what you're thinking?
Who gets off on it? No, but I was thinking, like, you know those like sketches where there's like three toddlers standing on each other and they make one man. I was worried he would open his coat and he would just
Vincent, I don't
burst into cats, and there would just be cats everywhere.
I've seen this man in the cinema a few times, and he didn't even stay for the entire movie.
No, about 20. Even he couldn't do it. Like even the cat man, creepy cat man, couldn't do it. But yeah, he's been there a few
done
times.
at that point.
If you are listening, creepy cat man, if you want to be a guest on the podcast next week, we would love that. If you want to come in and do like an interview.
Cause your tail.
Yeah. Ew, Jesus. I know you guys are Jack's particularly nervous for this episode.
I wouldn't say nervous, just
He's excited for his
no,
nap.
I'm not. So am I right in thinking the basic premise is they're all in purgatory and one cat gets chosen
You're
to
asking
die?
for a premise of cats. Are you fucking stupid?
There's no way you can quantify what
That's what I
mean, at the end of
did.
the day, it's
I
just
tried
a-
to find a synopsis, and that was basically what I got. They're all in purgatory, and one gets chosen to die.
Oh, well, if you're lucky, our little Hannah might have prepared a little synopsis.
Yeah, Hannah will be doing our 30-second synopsis when the film has been watched. As you did with Showgirls, as I did with Troll 2, as the last two podcasts have ran.
I still expect it to be prepared that much.
Are
I
we,
mean, there's not really much of a synopsis, is there?
No,
Really? I mean,
I'm looking forward to what you've got.
I think this might be the first time
Cats.
people struggle to fill 30 seconds, unless, I just...
her 30-second
Jellicle
synopsis
cats.
is just her screaming for 30 seconds.
How are you feeling about watching it, Hannah?
I don't know, I'll be honest with you. I've read very, very few good reviews, and a lot of people just infuriated with the fact that this was on their screen for like near 2 hours. Excited with a tinge of nervous.
So that's where Jack's coming out. That is it even worth being in the pantheon of best worst? No, because it's so new. It's probably the newest trainwreck. It's probably the newest trainwreck. This
one stays in.
This happens once a week. But yeah, this is probably the most recent in the addition to the pantheon of best worst, and it's so recent in the fact that it hasn't actually been officially categorized as best worst. It's still in that like transitionary period where there's no real cult of appreciation yet.
Oh, what you call us?
We're starting it. We are the Jellicles, and we are going to start the Jellicle.
What does that word mean?
We don't know.
You don't need to know.
You don't need to know, yeah. But this is the thing. It's so new. For a lot of people, I think it's going to be an unwelcomed addition to it because it hasn't quite got the same vibes as a lot of the other best worst in the sense that it's relatively high budgeted. There are elements of it that are competent, but it still kind of comes together to make something so spectacularly unwatchable. It does definitely qualify, in my opinion, anyway, for best worst.
I will fight. I will
lineage.
fight for that opinion.
I mean, it won the Razzie, and if you win the Razzie, I think you automatically get entry, like a ticket to ticket to ride kind of thing. I mean, this director Tom Hooper is a guy I've had nothing but negative feelings for my entire life. I have not enjoyed anything he's done. I didn't enjoy his version of Les Mis. I didn't enjoy. What are you looking at me for?
I don't know if I'm going to cut this out, but I'm just going to double check my facts.
Yeah, you think he wrote the BBC his doc materials or directed?
Oh no, we
it?
did. No, we did. He's in it. I don't know whether he's a producer or a director.
Yeah,
but that's right. Okay.
See, I didn't like that. Very much.
Yeah, I do like his doc materials, but then he's getting 40 minutes on a TV show that's already pre-written by one of the best writers in
And also,
That's
it's not
fair.
like he's after the Oscar with this one. He
Yeah.
can't just be lazily writing like, yep, this will get everything I need.
So the problem with Tom Hooper and the problem with this as a concept and this as an experience is that he is obsessed, for my money, with getting his cabinet of Oscars, just filling it to the brim.
Was there any room after Les Mis?
Well, this is the thing. Like, he won a few for Les Mis. He won quite a few for King's Speech, which I think is a pile of shit. I know Hannah and me disagree with
absolutely
this.
love King's Speech. But I don't know if that's
Yeah.
because I love Lionel Logue and Helen Bonham Carter, or maybe it was just more
I
to do
love
with
Helen.
the
I love-
actors.
I
But no,
love that.
I really enjoyed the King's Speech.
We're
I
not
thought
Colin.
it was...
We're not War Colin though.
Oh, I love War Colin.
No, I'm not disagreeing with you. Every single actor in that. Jeffrey Rush is in that. He's fucking awesome. He's absolutely... Captain Barbossa's in that movie. Fucking love Captain Barbossa. But it's just the most boring ass fucking movie I've ever seen in my entire life. And it's manufactured to want to win Oscars. It's like, oh, we've got a historical event where he's got a disability and we've got these already Oscar-winning actors. It's just everything is manufactured in order to win Oscars, and I watch it and I'm like, this isn't a real film, this is a Oscar bait. It's that idea of this is just bait for an Oscar.
I have two rave lights and haven't to watch Cats again. The first one is I'm going to make a list of stuff that constitutes Oscar bait and take them off as we go along watching it. The second one is watching Hannah fuck up every single name of every single cat as we go along.
She does it with like directors and actors consistently. So these cats are gonna. She like.
Hang on, so I've got a
Okay, Hannah, Taylor Swift's cat's name. Go.
Loading.
Bombalurina.
Bombalurina.
That's how she's gonna say it every time. She's gonna take those long pauses every single time.
Christopher Jones, Grisabella, Growl Tiger.
Our cat's called Gus. We have a cat called Gus. He's a British Shorthair and he's gorgeous. But I always call him Christopher Jones because he's fat and he just waddles along and you'll see watching the film. But this is the thing. Like what he's done, and we watched the original. We watched the 1981, which I don't think either of us really enjoyed, but we appreciated more because at least it's not pretentious and at least it's not like just goading its audience into saying, look how brilliant we are, look how Oscar worthy we are, look at all these fantastic actors that actually they can sing. Some of them can't fucking sing. It just feels like an exercise in grandiosity rather than actual like love of musicals. And I don't think Tom Hooper likes musicals. I don't think his interpretation of Les Mis was particularly successful. I know you.
I think you're probably in the minority there. I think it's obviously massively popular.
I think I watched a comparison of Les Mis at the actual Broadway show, and I've been to see the Broadway show, and once you've seen the Broadway show and then you go back and you watch the movie, I can understand its pitfalls. It's just, the music's meant to be powerful, and then you've got Russell Crowe.
But he does this thing where he like gets all of his actors to sing live, which makes sense in a musical because you're in an auditorium. It's absolutely, but I think you lose a lot. I think
this element of entertainment, the way that he does it, on a TV screen, it allows you to go back and make those changes to heighten the experience. So why wouldn't you? Yeah, you still have them.
They all have to sing live as
they were. I don't think they did that in Cats, but in Les Mis they weren't dubbed over and they were singing live, which I think he wanted to do to elevate the emotion in the performance. I know for Anne Hathaway at least he wanted to do that, but it comes across as in I'm watching Russell Crowe and Russell Crowe can't fucking sing. He sounds fucking awful.
Well, do you think had I have watched the 81 version initially before this one, I don't think I would have been able to pick out all the positives that I did. I can only do that because I have this piece of trash to compare it against.
Literally a direct comparison. It's a comparison I made in the 0.5 as well. The Old Gumby Cat song sung by Rebel Wilson in this is one of the most unlistenable tunes.
You will not let that go.
I fucking hate this. It's a 3-minute sequence. It has. I don't actually want to ruin too much for these two because they haven't seen it.
No, don't save it.
I'm going to keep it under wraps. But again, just the performances. You get an actress like Rebel Wilson who can't sing. I don't know if you've ever heard Rebel Wilson sing.
You have to whisper that just in case she hears.
Isn't she in like Pitch Perfect?
And she's
like
anything
like
but Pitch Perfect. Yeah, but she's anything but Pitch Perfect. Have you seen Pitch Perfect, Hannah?
Yeah.
Do you remember how bad Rebel Wilson is at singing?
Even then, even in the audition where she's singing in Pitch Perfect, her character is just obnoxiously loud. Like she can hit a high note, but it's just a screech essentially.
But it worked in something like that because that was
she's backing vocals just going
she's the comic relief, and in here they try and play her off as the comic relief. Whereas the Old Gumby Cat in the musical, it's actually a very nice musical number. It's a very well sung song. It's tender. It's got quite a lot of emotion to it.
She's more like a mother. She makes me think of Molly from Harry Potter.
But here they play it for laughs, and here everything's just a really short snippet for the celebrities to have the little cameo and have the little moment, and then they disappear. And but again, I feel like I'm getting a lot into the film. At the very least, this is Tom Hooper's most entertaining film. I probably would rather watch this over the King's Speech. I know that sounds like blasphemy.
Yeah, well, at least this is bad enough to enjoy.
I'm probably just like alienating a lot of people, but at least I think this is enjoyable. I've been obsessed with this movie. I've been like lamenting over how I'm going to actually tackle my criticism of this film because it's so just uncriticisable. I'm going to take that again because that doesn't make sense.
Uncriticisable.
Well, it's very easily to criticise. I've been obsessed, obviously, with this movie for about a year now, and I kind of want that opportunity to tackle all my emotions and get all my emotions out as to why this movie's been haunting me for the past year, because there's a reason. It's you'll know when you watch it. It's just something so bizarre about what went wrong here. It just feels like Hollywood hubris at its very worst is the main thing. It feels like it was a director in a studio who thought they could tackle something and thought they could win Oscars by just
too big to fail, sort of.
Pretty much, yeah. And when you watch it fail, it's like watching the Hindenburg go down. It's just
what was the value on this?
So budget wise, it was
like 100.
It was 100 million to make. And it was 70. I think it got 75 million domestic, which is not great, but I don't think it lost a lot. but it was still
25 mil is pretty.
It wasn't,
especially
yeah.
when you compare it against the percentage.
And that's prior to advertising as well. So you always have to add. I think there's a percentage you have to add on how much the advertising is going to be. But they definitely lost money on this. I think that's as good time as any to watch the trailer, pop it on, and do a little bit of trailer talk and see what we think.
It gets me every time I see a Cats trailer. I start watching it, it plays memories, and then I'm like, oh, you know what? I may actually enjoy this. I was like, I can get past CGI.
Memories is a good song.
Memories is a good song. The moment it loses me is when I see Rebel Wilson lying in a mousetrap, and I'm done. All right, yes, I fucking hate this movie. I remember now.
I have words about Rebel Wilson and James Corden because they are the biggest two culprits as to why I hate this film. But that's going to be definitely
Not Tom Hooper. He's innocent.
all three of them.
I don't know if that trailer was done before or after the CGI brush up because
The
it got
fix,
one.
yeah.
It got one like was it within a week of it being
That
out?
was before. So yeah, it came out for a week in November. It was like a European release, and then they had to pull it because there was so many problems with the CGI. Like there was like wedding rings and bracelets still left on cats.
Someone said it was like floating heads at one
Floating
point.
heads, yeah. A lot of the textures didn't load in because again,
Texture didn't load in. Is it being like rendered?
yeah, it's being rendered in real time. It's like fucking low res. But this again, this lends to the problem of this was a film that wasn't given the correct amount of care. You could tell from that trailer that it wasn't given the correct amount of love. I don't know how to express how much this doesn't prepare you for the experience you're about to have. Because even that was merciful. That was fine. It had the best song in the musical, and it was scattershot scenes. Imagine that, but for 2 hours. That's what you were about to sit down for, lads and lasses.
I don't know if I'll be prepared to record after this. I think my head, it's already a little bit scrambled.
Yeah,
I'm prepared with everything.
I just don't think I'm going to enjoy this in the
fucking
slightest.
movie.
I don't think I can again, if we're not reviewing it for someone to watch, why are we reviewing it?
Well, this is it. This is it, man. On that note, how long do you think it's going to take Jack to fall asleep?
I've had a bad night's cape, so it's on the cards.
I'm
Definitely.
going to say 42 minutes.
Although
I'm
it's
going to
allowed.
say 38. I'm not going to give you much of a window.
It's not
there.
a boring film though. It's a loud, garish film.
This
though,
is where
isn't it?
I don't think he's going to fall asleep because I think to fall asleep mid-cat is like to fall asleep during an
But I
acid
think
trip.
he
You
wants to
underestimate his
fall
power.
asleep. I think he's going to try with
I
all
don't
of
know,
his
I
might to
think-
try and block this out.
I think I might be too angry to fall asleep during it. Though.
I've got
I
a
don't
second
know.
prediction where I don't think he's going to fall asleep. I think he's going to leave the room. I think he's going to go
Upstairs,
He's right.
cyberpunk on.
I think this might be his Achilles heel. This might be his his fall. Like I don't think he's going to get through this
I think
thing.
I'm going to rage quit.
I think you're going to rage quit cats, which
It's
is
on the-
totally
yeah,
reasonable.
It might happen. We'll see.
I wouldn't blame you. I don't even think I'd hold it against you.
I feel like I've been given a free pass now, though. So.
You have a little bit. But yeah, I think that's perfect time as any to put. Well, if there is a perfect time as any to watch cats, now is the time. Perfect. We're ready for this catastrophe. Catastrophe.
Fuck off. This
Okay,
tea.
that's it. Right, see you
Please cut
guys. We'll be back soon, guys. Enjoy.
Anyone saying?
What is anyone saying?
What is
That could be
anyone
enough
saying?
for most of the songs, let's be
Yeah.
entirely honest. Who's ready to go to hell?
In a handbasket. In a cat basket.
In a cat basket? In a casket? 3 out of the 4 of us made it back from the heavy side layer. I keep calling it the heli side layer because I just think of hell, but it's the heavy side layer.
Heavy side layer.
Yeah. Layer.
What do you think that's like? Is that like the heavy side
knows.
layer of cream?
Oh, fucking knows, Hannah. I don't even think
What the fuck is a heavy side layer of cream?
I just don't understand why heaven's called the heavy side layer.
It's not heaven, it's a second life. So what the thing was, cats have 9 lives. And when they get chosen to go to the heavy side layer, that's...
What is
them-
the heavy side layer?
I think they die, which I think they do that, but they come back, so they're reborn. So I think they die. I guess they die from oxygen, just deprivation.
Depredation.
It's shot off in an air balloon.
Yeah, the balloon pops and she plumps to I don't fucking know, and they die. But why don't they just do it mercifully? They should have like a lethal injection machine or something. Right, here we go. Get in the chair. Get in the chair. We'll do it this way. Right, so if you couldn't tell, 3 out of the 4 of us have made it back from watching Cats. One of them did. Did we get the time? Because I think I won.
Yeah, it was like
win, yeah.
we had 40 minutes left of the movie or thereabout.
Fucking sick.
About an hour 20 in.
Well, I mean, you guys went way too soon. That was the main problem. I was like, I didn't even get close, but I think I was the closest. So.
But he did
It was a
everything he
purposeful
could.
choice about halfway through, I think.
Oh yeah, he did
Yeah.
everything he could to stay awake. He sat in the most uncomfortable chair in the house just so he could try and outlast us. He failed, but he tried.
So, I mean, I want to start my, because we're back and we're not okay. I want to start my ramblings on by saying I kind of wish I specifically had been kinder to the 81 version when we did our
I told you when we were watching it, and you wouldn't believe me.
No, well, this is the thing. Like, I still don't think it's my cup of tea, but it's just so immeasurably better. Like, you watch, one is genuinely full of joy, and one is hellscape. It's like playing Doom or something. Like, you just watch.
Playing Doom.
It's fucking awful. There are some movie musicals that lend themselves to adaptation. There are some that don't, and then there are Cats, which just doesn't lend it. It just doesn't lend itself to being existing. It just doesn't deserve to be here. It's honestly atrocious. I don't know how you guys felt, but obviously I think we're on the same page.
I think before going further, we should show Hannah the actual stage production of
Should we
Jenny
do a
Any
couple?
Dots.
Should we do a couple? Because there's that and there's Mr. Mistopheles as
Mr.
well, which I
Mistopheles.
I
think.
feel like I need the comparison actually
Yeah.
to get
Show
your
Hannah
like.
now. I'll keep recording. We'll put them on the YouTube.
Put them on the YouTube. All right, old man.
That's what makes a Gumby cat.
But when the day's hustle and bustle is done, then the Gumby cat's work is but hardly begun. She thinks that the cockroaches just need employment to prevent them from idle and wanton destroy.
Are we still recording? You're going to have to.
Yeah, we're still. Yeah. Oh, I wonder if that's where they got the inspiration for having Judi Dench like be magically reappeared by Mr. Mistopheles from that trick on there, where he gets Deuteronomy under the cloth.
Yeah, well, that's kind of one thing they keep. Sorry, we're just back from recording. We've just shown Hannah a few.
I presume this wasn't going to stay in.
Yeah, probably not. So we've just come back from kind of doing a little bit of comparison for Hannah because she's not seen anything from the 1981 version. She was just dying to watch more.
Couldn't get enough.
I want to talk a little bit about this movie before we really jump into our thoughts, if that's all right with you guys. Just a kind of little look back at just how much of an unmitigated disaster this whole thing was. A disaster I own on Blu-ray that I bought.
One of the select few on a physical fucking copy.
That I bought on Blu-ray for £9.99.
I have come away from that movie with just an overwhelming sense of motion sickness.
Yeah, like technically, there's problems. There's problems in every aspect of the film. There's not really a moment where you can look at it and say there isn't at least several problems. I think for me, the choreography of the musical numbers is a major issue.
They say choreography for the musical numbers, but I don't think the choreography was as terrible as what you seem to be.
I'd agree.
Yeah, I think a lot of the issues are with the way it's shot and the way you're not allowed to see any of the choreography. I don't know how you can even judge it.
You can't really. Yeah, you're right. Absolutely. So yeah, more the staging, more the camera work, more the direction.
The times where they did the sort of the panned view where you got absolutely everything in, it was
The
so much
three
better.
times they did it.
Yeah, they don't do it a lot.
But you could tell you can pick them out. There was the time that Victoria.
That's an
did
easy
her-
one. Right, you know, the fact,
It's that easy.
the fact that you were
I'm
struggling, the fact that you were like,
starting
you were like,
Victoria.
shit, how am I going to get this name wrong? Victoria.
So the time that Victoria does is a pirouette and
Yeah.
it sort of continues
Yeah.
round and that continuous shot of her, that's brilliant. And then you've got the railway cat, which
Skimble Shanks.
Skimble
Shanks.
Shanks.
My favourite. My personal
and
favourite.
they do a few pan shots of that as well, and it is brilliant. Like, so I couldn't tap dance like that. It's impressive.
I think we'll get into it because I think we are getting into territory where we are going to have to eventually talk about our feelings for this fucking movie. Before we do, let's do a 30-second plot synopsis, please. And she's looking at me. She's not prepared. She's grabbing a note. She's worried. She's scared.
So the 30-second plot synopsis.
I am gonna time
the
you as
plot
well.
Synopsis
Yeah, if you
for
can
this
call it that.
film. So essentially, it's just a series of songs about cats and about what kind of cats they are. But there's a cat called Victoria. She finds this group called Jellicle cats, and they all sing once a year to ascend and become a reborn. One of them gets chosen to be reborn, and they all perform. And one of the performers is McCavity, who goes around stealing all of the other performers so that he can win. And then eventually they kidnap the big one,
Deuteronomy.
the old Deuteronomy, which you think would be the biggest plot point, but they solve it in about 2 minutes.
Yeah.
And bring her back, and then they ascend Grisabella, who they've been nothing but awful to the entire film.
You know what?
Yeah.
Fucking well done.
Well, we did not expect
that
this
was
review.
as succinct.
There we go.
That was as succinct as a plot synopsis as you could expect for this movie. Then that was, you know what? That was better than the one I wrote down for you. That I was prepared that if you fuck this up. But
Can I get like a little soundbite of like
You can have a sticker.
You don't deserve a soundbite.
So yeah, it's just stressful. It's just a 2-hour stress. It's a 2-hour exercise in stress, an exercise in delirium, and it's sorry if you can hear snoring in the background. That would be Jack.
He's still out.
If not, I might put some snoring sound effects.
He's
in
being
here.
rendered unconscious.
Yeah, no, I'm stunned for words.
Jason Derulo called when he spoke about this film, called it brave art.
That's one way to say it's trash.
It's brave in a sense that, yeah, everyone's reaction to it was so understandably terrified and abhorrent of it that, yeah, I guess in that sense it's brave to even assume that people would want to watch this as a mass-produced. It's risky art. I mean, from the very get-go, this was always going to be a risk to put out there. I feel like it's such a niche audience.
From everything that I've read and looked into, everything looks like it can be pointed squarely at the feet of the directors and producers, having unrealistic expectations. Even the technology, the CGI you can do with fur rendering is always adapting. And now I think they just expected something absolutely magical when we just don't have the capability for it.
The fur was rendered. There was fur there. It was just how it was proportioned on everybody's
body that just
body,
made so
like-
well. Like Universal pulled this. They pulled a stunt a week after it released in theater and redid a lot of the first. So the version that we're watching is the finished, complete version. But that
it's not the complete version, so I get assholes.
Do you know about the butthole cut, Hannah?
No.
The butthole hashtag the butthole cut.
Oh no! I think you're going to tell me it's
You
that.
can probably figure it out.
Yeah, they've made an actual version of this to be realistic with cat assholes on everyone.
I don't know whether they've made it or it was just like a pre-production thing.
Is
or
this the Rebel Wilson film shot?
I've heard that it exists. For everyone.
For everyone.
All the cats have assholes.
Apparently there is a version, and it lends itself to why I hate Tom Hooper as a director, because his whole thing is he wants everything to be realistic. He wants this realism, and that's
But
fine.
cats don't have thumbs.
Yeah, that's fine for something like Les Mis,
do.
which is like a historical musical period piece. Whatever, that it works better. I still don't like it, but it works better. But with something like Cats, which is ethereal and absurdist and poetic, it just does not. It couldn't be further from realism. So why are you trying to? And the butthole cut was his original idea to have buttholes on the cats because realism, right? That it's realistic. It's. But no, it just doesn't lend itself to
Why
music
the buttholes
theatre.
before the paws?
Why is that as far as his
When he
priorities
looks
go?
at a cat, is that where his eyes are drawn? Is that where he starts?
It was just they did a ridiculous thing, and it went into production like April for the effects team, and from April to December is such a quick turnaround time. I don't know what they expected, and he said I think it was 36 hours before it was commercially released, or before they had to show it. He was still making edits and changes.
They finished at 8 a.m. the previous day.
Yeah, which
of the world
I've got this
premiere.
image in my head of Tom Hooper just sitting in his basement, like with a computer, just singing Jellicle cats and just frothing at the
Maniacal
mouth.
eyebrow twitching.
But yeah, again, like it's just so unsettling. Like I do want to talk about the CGI because the CGI is such a massive controversy in the film, and I think it's what everyone picked up on. We discussed this on to be fair, the other podcast, which I've not actually mentioned that I'm part of another podcast, but I probably should at some point. We were talking about the 2019 Sonic the Hedgehog film, which I know you and Jack have seen, right?
No,
You
we
haven't?
went to go see it, and then
Was it COVID? Is
ditched that one as well. I think.
shit, okay.
I can't remember why we didn't see
Because
it.
the outcry came from when the trailers dropped and everyone says, look, this doesn't look good, go back and fix it, please do something about this. And where the Sonic the Hedgehog producers listened and they put more time into it, the guys at Cats were just like, no, this is unless there is a full cat missing, we are not giving you the time to go and fix these cats. And that's why the original cut like had wedding rings on cats, and
There were still wedding rings.
yeah,
There's still all sorts of mistakes that they had, but again, I feel this is Tom Hooper's fault, saying this is what I expect. You're not meeting those expectations. I want these to look more cat-like, and then they're saying this is the best we can do. This is as far as technology has taken us. There's nothing wrong with this. You'll have to deal with what we've got. And he was just like, well, I don't have time to do anything else now. I'll fucking deal with it, Warner.
I'm just still obsessed with it though. Like, there's still a part of me that wants to watch it immediately again because it's just such a bafflingly absurd experience that I don't think you can describe. Like, I mean, you having not seen this, we described it to you quite a little bit. Was it anything to your expectations?
It was infuriating, more infuriating than I thought it would be, and that's because it just didn't let you enjoy the bits that you wanted to enjoy. There was, I never knew what they were saying. Like, it was so hard to pick out what they were saying. No one was in sync. The songs didn't seem to go with the dances, and then the weird cut angles where you could never see the feet go in, and
Well, don't forget the volume of the voices compared to the volume of the actual instrumentals.
You turned to me at one point, Ryan, and you said it just seems like Tom Hooper is not proud of this product. He seems like he doesn't want to show us what he's actually done because he knows it's awful.
Yeah.
He knows it's horrendous. So he cuts every second. Every second there's another cut and there's another jump cut. And it doesn't let you linger on any moment. So whatever is on screen, yeah, it might be awful to look at, but at least it's not giving me like fucking a headache every 5 seconds if I was just allowed to settle on something.
Some of the problems with that is when you're looking at the CGI faces and they sometimes have fur right around the lips. Sometimes it looks a bit more like skin. The hands look like human hands, human feet. Sometimes they're coloured, sometimes they're not. Sometimes they're wearing shoes. And I don't know if he sat this, started making cuts and was thinking, my God, this has so many mistakes. And he's realised at the time, perhaps, and that's why he's trying to fuck it up.
Don't get me started on McCavity Cat, on Idris Elba Cat, which of all of the cats, they
but
did...
naked Idris Elba.
But naked. So did I say that in the last episode, did I?
About 20 times.
Okay, sorry. Right. You edited it, I can't remember. Yeah,
Still there.
They have this thing where they every other cat has fur rendered that's at least a different shade to their actual faces, or they have stripes, or they have spots. But the way they do Idris Elba's is it's just because in most of the film he has the coat, he has this big
trench coat on, trilby hat on,
and then there's almost this reveal moment, like I'm back watching Showgirls, and he gets stripped naked, and I just see naked Idris Elba on stage with fucking shoes on and a hat.
He's meant to just be a sleek, evil black cat, though, isn't he?
But it's the same colour skin as Idris Elba, so it looks fucking terrifying.
Yeah, it's weird. He seems to be the only cat who has any musculature as well.
Yeah.
He's really built.
He's got definition.
Yeah, it's such an ill-conceived thing. Like, even the original, it's just such an ill-conceived premise that I'm fascinated. And I wish we actually had someone on the episode who was a stan for cats, because I'd love to. Maybe in the future we'll have like an interview episode where we have a fan of this, because as a concept, this just baffles me. And while we're talking about CGI, my heart bleeds for the animators, because they're not incompetent. It's not that these are bad animators. It's that they weren't given enough time. The deadlines were so unreasonable. I don't think anybody in this situation could have done a good job.
Well, they had the fucking cut in like Vancouver, Australia, tons of different places all over the world. You had these teams.
It was all set designs.
But, because the visual effects teams, they had them in different locations all over the place, having to cut things, render different things. They brought another production company in, MPC, right near the end of production, and had them then have to work on things. And even when they got the project passed over, they were still saying that this is fine. This is about as good a product as you can expect with what we can do.
I don't know what this film does to me. Like, I hate it, and I was upset, and I think we're all quite upset watching it. But like, what's happened since as well? The Rebel Wilson. I'm going to talk quite a bit how much I hate Rebel Wilson and James Corden for that matter. I don't like Rebel Wilson in Pitch Perfect. I don't like Rebel Wilson in anything she's been in. She's intolerable in every fucking thing. Every time she shows a fucking face, it's just like the British.
Hannah, should we go have a coffee break while he gets us out?
Bitch about Rebel Wilson. I mean, I'm sure she's a lovely person, but then I almost think maybe she's not a lovely person because of the stunt her and James Corden pulled at the Oscars. Did you remember this when they
the visual effects team?
So they came out dressed as cats, like they came out in cat costumes to award the best visual effects Oscar award. And they basically spend the entire time dissing the film for its visual effects.
Nobody knows better than us the importance of special effects.
Yeah, that was pretty much what they were doing, and it's just like
That's a bit of a dick move.
like you guys put in minimalist performances. You can't sing. You guys were there, and I think again more Tom Hooper's fault than maybe the actors. He picks actors because of their recognizability or their star quality or whatever it is, not because they can sing, not because they can dance, not because they're actually talented with musical theatre. What he does is he picks actors because they're bankable stars. James Corden's big right now. Fuck, put him there. I don't know about you guys, but I mean, scene comparison, the Gumby cat, the one you just watched, Hannah, versus the one in the film.
Yeah,
it's like night and day,
I
isn't it?
was totally shocked because, to be fair, it was portraying as a completely different character. The Gumby cat in the musical to me was like this mad hatter type character, whereas the one that Rebel Wilson played was just an idiot.
Yeah, it's comic relief. It's entirely
Yeah.
just comic relief. It's like that's all she can do.
All she can do. But like, you even have side characters, though, that aren't badly casted, like Munkus Strap in the narrator in the 2009. He's pretty good.
Quite good, actually, yeah.
He's a ballerina, along with Francesca, who plays Victoria.
Sorry, I'm looking at Hannah's face. She's got no idea who we're talking about.
The great narrator cat and Victoria are both professional ballet dancers, but then he had a good voice on him as well, I feel.
Yeah, there's a lot of moments where you realise he hasn't cast people because of their musical abilities. He's cast people because he wants another Oscar.
Yeah, and while Munkus Strap is a main character who occurs all the way throughout, he's not a centre of attention. I feel like he's been cast fine, but he's like, right, yes, we need someone to sing about McCavity. He's going to be the sidekick to the evil guy. The evil guy has to be famous. Their sidekick has to be a sexy, famous chick. And it just goes on like
Can we
that.
talk like again? Just I want to stick with the Gumby cat for a minute. So the film starts with Jellicle Cat, which is just a 3-minute nightmare. It's very loud, very obnoxious. But Gumby Cat is kind of the first introduction to who the Jellicles are, and this is the first cat vying for the new Jellicle life, or whatever the fuck. I don't even know what I'm saying anymore. I'm losing my fucking mind. But the Jellicle, the Gumby Cat, sorry, the Gumby Cat song is easily the worst because of Rebel Wilson's inability to sing. And it just feels like, again, in the comparison to the musical version, all of the singers are singing about her rather than
Singing about herself.
singing about themselves. It just feels like he doesn't know how to frame a narrative. He doesn't know. He doesn't trust the musical. Like, if he filmed it like it was in the musical, and there were these disjointed musical numbers, rather than he was trying to string along a narrative, it would work immeasurably better. First of all, it doesn't need to be like this. It doesn't need to be filmed. It exists it exists in a weird space where it just doesn't justify its own existence. I think
Yeah.
it just doesn't need to be here. It just
Well, Steven Spielberg was meant to make an animated version of Cats in 1990. And the artwork and everything that they did for it was beautiful. There's some of it online, and I would recommend checking it out because it's gorgeous. But the lack of plot was what made them decide, actually, I don't think this can be a movie.
no.
As
and-
proven by Tom Hooper.
Yeah, it just...
If it was ever going to be a movie, an animated movie would be the way to go because you can get away with so much more, and you can do so much more with regards to
The scale might have actually worked on that.
Well, the scale's a big problem. I know I keep wanting to talk about the Gumby cat.
Right,
but we
okay.
can't
We'll stick on the Gumby
we
cat.
can't not talk about the mice.
Yeah, well, the mice, the children.
can't get through this
Won't somebody
podcast.
please think of the children?
We can't get through this podcast without talking about CGI mice with children faces singing about how they're going to be eaten.
They are the seeds of nightmares. They're just...
On the old one, 81, it's the Gumby cat singing with 3 cats in the background, and that's her chorus line. Everyone else in costume is there just to be in costume, and it's just the 4 of them singing, and I think that works much better than having weird cockroaches singing like a bunch of random people. And the tone doesn't even like increase. It doesn't get any more upbeat than what the 81 stage version does.
Yeah, well, this is it. Like, I think that these are the sleep paralysis demons I see in my dreams. Like, honestly, they're just awful. This is the last point I want to make about the Gumby cat because it's the worst song in the.
Oh, it's not the last point I'm going to make.
That's
Now
fine.
that we're
You
here.
make- you
Now
make-
we're fucking here.
You make your points, my friend. Oh, sorry.
Oh,
but
now? Okay, let's do this.
You don't have to right now. It's just uncomfortable. It's just hard to watch. Again, every song is punctuated with Rebel Wilson doing a one-liner. She's like, "Oh, I've forgotten every cat pun. It's the cat's bananas. I don't fucking know.
Cat's pajamas.
That's the one. It's the cat's pajamas. Fucking hell. clearly this movie's hurt me in ways I can't.
The well-known cat, Banana Joe.
Fuck off. But yeah, again, it's just Tom Hooper doesn't like musicals. He doesn't like his own musicals. I don't know what he's doing making musicals.
But Gumby Cat's the one that gets me and makes me realise that I hate this fucking movie. I start watching it and I trick myself every time into believing that I can get away with this. Same with trailer. So this will be fine up until I saw the fucking Gumby Cat.
But if they took the Gumby Cat out, if they cut it out,
it would still
what
be
would
shit.
be the next part that you sat back and thought, ugh, no.
It would still be awful.
That would be James Corden or Mungo Jerry.
Which is like immediately after.
This is
after
the thing.
Like a single song.
None of them are good. There are musical numbers in the performance in the stage show that are good. I would say there's about 5 or 6 genuinely really good songs.
But that starts out well in this one with Jenny Anydots. He comes in and the narrator's singing Monka's Strap.
Yeah.
And that sounds fine. And then the second Rebel Wilson goes, and then I'm just fucking, that's it. Like, I see red and I want to shut off.
My favourite part of this was when about 10 minutes in, Jack turned to you, Ryan, and said, Ryan, can you turn this down? I don't want my neighbours knowing I'm watching cats.
It wasn't even that loud either.
No, it was like
it was just on the random off chance someone happened to walk by the window.
These cats occupy a space, and it's that uncanny valley thing that where you're looking at something that's human and it upsets you because it's so close to human, yet it's not. It's deeply disturbing. I think this is an unfilmable musical. I don't think this is something that you can do successfully without hitting that uncanny valley.
Absolutely not. I mean, you're having humans perform, so we have certain proportions, like we have heels that need to touch the floor, whereas a cat just uses the pads of its feet, and we can't stand like that. Our legs and arms are out of proportion, so of course they're going to look absolutely ridiculous if you try to make it realistic.
List the musical wise. I have this conspiracy theory that musicals don't lend themselves as well to movie adaptation as a lot of people think they do. Like, I can think of maybe a handful of ones that are really, really good. Like something like West Side Story, Sound of Music, like Evita, Chicago. But a lot of them, I think they will always kind of pale in comparison to their Broadway counterparts, which is why I'm really glad Hamilton did it the way it did. And just filmed it.
That was a smart choice.
It was the only choice, really. I don't think there's such different mediums. It's like when you translate a book, a lot of the time, what you lose, character development, you lose with this. Like the last, I love I'm jumping from the one of the first songs to the last song. But the last song is like a 5 minutes long monologue by Judi Dench where she's addressing the audience. But for the rest of the entire film, the other 1 hour and 40 minutes before, they've not once addressed the audience. And randomly they decide to break the fourth wall, and that's something you can get away with in theatre. In the theatre version, they consistently address the audience, but they just do it. It just feels like Tom Hooper doesn't know what he's doing. He doesn't know the rules of musicals. It just seems like it's... Sorry, Jack's just getting louder and louder as we snore. He's like trying... I think he's agreeing with us. Yeah.
No more
he doesn't know the rules of musicals.
In an effort to strive for realism, he just fully shits the bed. Like, it might have worked better with Les Mis. It definitely would never have worked here.
But I just can't fathom his motivations. Is it that he wants the Oscar? Is it that he doesn't like musicals? Is it that he just wants to meet famous fucking people? I can't get a grasp of him.
It's a vanity project at the end of the day. It's a chance for him to meet with celebrities and give celebrities their 5 minutes. But you know, it's like once the celebrity has their song, they're vanished out of the film. Like, right,
it's just a reel.
Yeah, your contracted 5 minutes gone. Like you could
and it's literally magic. There's no clever plot behind it. McCaffrey magics them away.
Who are people like Dame Judi Dench and Ian McKellen? These people who are fucking sirs and dames and have been knighted. I remember telling you at one point, I was like, can you take away a knighthood? Can you revoke a knighthood? Because I feel like it's deserved at this point. I think we're all just a bit upset.
I'm upset. I don't even want to do this. I want to turn this off now.
There are aspects. Do we have any more key moments that we remember or like...
Rum Tum Tugger.
Yeah. Jason Derulo, weirdly, he's got a good voice, but again, you can't hear him because of the way the audio is recorded. Mm-hmm. Everything is pitched wrong, so that the trumpets might be blaring at one point while you can't hear any of the vocals. Everything just sounds so amateurish as far as the actual audio recording goes. It sounds worse than fucking half the podcast that you fucking listen to out there.
Yeah, because you can't see it when he's acting. It's entertaining. His character is fully realised.
He puts camp into it. Like,
he's
I think
exuberant.
He's probably one of the better parts. And I said when we were watching it, I think Skimbleshanks is probably the best framed musical number. I know you disagree with me, Ryan, but I think of all
I
of
don't
them,
disagree. This is the best framed musical number, but it doesn't mean it's a well-framed musical
it's
number.
the only one where they don't interrupt it with one-liners or jokes, or they slow it down. It's kept at the same pace. Where you look at something like Mr. Mistopheles, which again, I know we did that comparison there, is so much more upbeat than it was in the movie.
They used Rebel Wilson in Jason Derulo's number, also in James Corden until she got magicked away,
Don't get me started on James.
to provide those breaks and one-liners, which were just god awful, and we didn't need them. And I remember Hannah turned to me during the milk bar scene with Rum Tum Tugger saying, "They have a beautiful set there. I can't believe that they haven't utilised it." And she was absolutely right. It is an absolute travesty of nonsense scattershot scenes.
And scaling-wise, the scaling doesn't work. So you see,
That's the
That did my head in the entire film.
that song was the first time I noticed the scaling issue properly.
you see like a scene where the cat's like standing next to a trash bin, and the cat's like maybe a normal size for a cat, like it's half the size of the trash can. And then you see the next scene, it's right next to like a line of milk bottles, and all of the milk bottles are the same size as the cat.
You don't even need to do that. You can compare milk bottles to milk bottles on the inside of the milk bar. They're gigantic. Outside, they're like a fraction of the size of the cats.
And they said, because again, I bought the Blu-ray and we were watching some of the special features, because of course we were. We watched one of the ones that was about building the sets, and they were saying, for some of them we could scale. We tried to start by scaling everything 3 times up. They said, and then they realized everything looked really weird. So I wonder what the fuck that looked like.
I don't want like a massive brick 3 times the size of a brick would
they
be
had
ridiculous.
So they had to like scale some things up and then some things less.
Less
Like
up.
that ring that she had that basically.
Oh,
was like a
Victoria, when she was-
a dangling bracelet or something. And who did that ring belong to? Like,
Who fucking knows, man?
Gigantor.
Well,
Like,
yeah,
it
when
was huge.
Victoria's in the house with Rum Tum Tugger and Mungo Jerry, she finds that jewellery and puts it on. And looking at our rings would not fit around the cat's paw. But then again, in this world, it's a world that humans apparently inhabit, yet it's a world built for cats.
Yeah.
That sums it up, I would say.
It's just hard to process. It's hard to process. Your brain doesn't let these images process properly, I think. Like it's almost like an acid trip without taking acid.
Sometimes I thought that they were actually just wiggling about for the sake of wiggling there. So they all went to cat school before they filmed this, right? And they had to watch videos of how cats moved, and they had to learn about the anatomy and the biology. And
We know all about this because we went to zombie school a few years back and did the exact same thing.
I imagine it would be a similar process because they
Zombie
taught
project.
us.
Yeah.
They taught us how to walk, how to make stupid vocal noises, and how to inhale and make it sound like a screech.
Only ours is a lot less horrifying.
A lot less horrifying.
But having said that, we must have both been taught, both them in the cat school and us in the zombie school, to sniff each other, which I think it really freaked me out when they were just sniffing each other on
Oh,
screen.
I forgot we were sniffing each other.
Just for a bit of context, we played zombies in this Halloween. I don't even think it was around Halloween. It was like this Halloween zombie maze where we were zombies and we would chase people. And they were like, yeah, things to freak out people. Sniff them. Like when they're not looking, go behind them and sniff them because they're not allowed to touch you. But whatever we were taught was apparently taught at cat school because they were just sniffing each other. They were sniffing each other's arseholes. They were fucking spraying on each other at scenes. It was just fucking uncomfortable.
The hormones were flying. Especially with Rum Tum Tugger.
I think Rum Tum Tugger, there are musical numbers, memories, Rum Tum Tugger, Skimbleshanks that could have been saved with a better director, someone who understood the source material, someone who knew how to edit and knew how to sort the fucking AV out. That was the big thing.
100%.
The audio was just so fucked up. Even on memories, you've got Jennifer Hudson, who's this absolute world fucking class singer. She's one of the greatest performers, and they fuck it up because you can't hear her.
It's on that top note as well. Like it's that
she
that note
breaks
that you're
into
waiting for.
Touch
You know
Me.
it's coming. Your skin's sort of like ready to like prick up and
And then it just fucking
Just
falls
drowns
flat.
it out.
Falls flat. And then you have the obligatory Taylor Swift cameo. Again, it's just a cameo. It's not this. It's not. She's not here because she's talented at musical theatre. She's not. She comes in. She writes a song for the film as well. They added an extra song because if the last thing we fucking need is more fucking songs. So then they have Taylor Swift's character who comes in at the end and sings Bacavity. She wrote her own music for this as well. She released a single, "Beautiful Ghosts," that Victoria sings. And again, it just adds more unnecessary crap to this already overstuffed piece of shit. I was expecting on the rewatch, I was expecting to not like this, but I'm of the camp that this is so bad it's entertaining. But that only lasts so long. I get to a point where I'm like, even I want this to fucking end. And then you've got that monologue, that 5-minute fucking monologue at the end, and it just teases you. It keeps ending. It's like,
The final shot about 6 times. This must be it.
Like watching Return of the King, you know how that Return of the King keeps ending. It's like that, but with Judi Dench just talking to you. Sort of undercuts the musicals in every opportunity. You have these scenes that would have been really, really good had they trusted their source material, had they filmed it properly and not kept trying to intercut it with narrative. You have really upbeat songs like Mr. Mistopheles that is just completely just dialed the fuck back and boring as sin because you have to interrupt it every 5 minutes. I don't know about you guys, but I'm kind of ready to give my final thoughts on this. I don't know. I think I'm done with Cats.
I was ready before we started. Can I just get mine done so I can leave, please?
Yeah, go for it. Yeah.
Final thoughts. Tom Hooper, for me, is the majority of the problem. And that includes my issues with Rebel Wilson, James Corden. He's the one who's picked them, essentially, to be in. We all know it's going to be his decision. This is what he does. I don't think this should have been made into a film adaptation. I want to give a special mention to the props team because the props themselves looked great.
Yeah, they really well.
And while the scale was all over the place, I know they used 1.5 to 3 times, they still did a good job on it, and everyone worked really hard to make all that stuff. He had a fantastic playground to play with. He had all the money in the world to play with, top-of-the-line technology to play with, and he fucked it up royally, and I can't forgive that. I want Francesca to come out well of this. I want some other actors to come out well of it, but in the end, they didn't know what they were in for, and it's all his fault.
As long as Rebel Wilson and James Corden's career is ruined, that's all I care. Yeah, Hannah, do you want to...
I would say...
Oh, no, fucking wait, I've gone.
Set design, brilliant. Choreography, who knows? Could have been great, could have been not. Didn't really see it. Sounding... what they were saying could have been great. Didn't hear most of it. Just maddening. Absolutely maddening.
Fully maddening.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty succinct.
Oh, and the snot.
Oh, no, we actually want to talk about this because the entire time.
The snot on
Jennifer Hudson's.
Jennifer Hudson's
great.
Try and say Grisabella.
So the snot on Grisabella's face is just disturbing all the way through.
It's always there. That's the thing.
It's just so distracting.
Ryan, do stay on the mic, please, before we finish recording. Like, he's trying to move.
Trying to run away.
I think you're spot on, really. It feels as if Tom Hooper not only hates musicals, but he basically hates movies at this point. He ruins every single musical number in this film. And there are some genuinely good musical numbers in this performance, in this musical. I feel much, much worse for Andrew Lloyd Webber, who I don't think he was very best pleased with this production. I wouldn't blame him.
I think if he had the choice, he would completely dissociate himself.
If someone did this to my baby, I would be pretty upset too. T.S. Eliot's probably rolling in his fucking grave somewhere.
I know Andrew Lloyd Webber said that the whole thing was ridiculous.
Yeah, it is ridiculous. I mean, it boils down to... The problem with this film boils down to the fact that it just shouldn't exist in the form that it does. It was barely right to exist in a musical form. It was probably best left as poetry. Let's be honest, guys.
Children's poetry.
Nothing could have fixed this. No number of A-list actors, no re-edits on the digital effects. Nothing could have saved this. It's just a travesty from beginning to end. The real question before we do wrap up, guys, is whether or not it belongs in the pantheon of best worst. It's kind of the last thing I think we need to discuss.
Oh, absolutely. If I recommend anyone to take acid or shrooms if you have a high enough constitution, watch this movie. It's entertaining.
Just get really stoned.
Get really stoned. It will keep you entertained. You will switch off at certain parts, but that's fine. It's bad. There are going to be those moments. But on the whole, you will be glad that you have seen this movie and have the opportunity to talk about it.
I'm glad I saw it, but I don't ever want to see it again.
I'm in the same boat.
I'm going to avoid my cats for a good few weeks, probably. Yeah, so unless you guys have anything else to add, I think that'll probably about wraps up the episode. Thank you very much for listening, guys, and do check us out on social medias, Bad Taste Buds, on our Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And also check us out at www.badtastebuds.com. Next week, it's Jack's pick. Now, Jack is asleep, so I think we should just pick for him, guys. I think we've trying... What you guys don't know about Jack is he's actually a massive D&D nerd, so I think we're going to surprise him and do Dungeons and Dragons next week. I know Jeremy Irons is in it, and I'm buzzing because it looks fucking atrocious. I've not seen it. I don't think any of us have seen it, so it might be the first movie we do where none of us have seen it.
Oh, all versions.
All
rare
Dungeons and Dragons versions. But do keep listening, guys, and do obviously if you're listening on Apple Podcast, do subscribe and leave us a review as well. Thank you very much, and good night.